Hello and welcome to Your New Jersey. I'm Marie Falbo. On today's show, we're taking you inside one of the most meaningful conversations happening in our state, mental health. It affects every family, community, and workplace. For millions of New Jerseyans, it determines whether they not only survive, but truly live. Recently, the Mental Health Association of New Jersey held their 25th Annual Evening of Excellence at the Park Savoy Estate in Florham Park. A beautiful, emotional night recognizing individuals and organizations who are changing the landscape of behavioral health in our state. I had the honor of emceeing the evening, and what I witnessed was powerful. Stories of courage, leadership, and impact that are shaping a healthier New Jersey. Today, we bring those stories to you, the mission, the people, and the future of mental wellness in our state. For over 75 years, the Mental Health Association of New Jersey has been meeting people exactly where they are, whether that's a crisis moment, a period of transition, or the first steps toward recovery. They provide peer support, education, community outreach, addiction recovery resources, family guidance, and a warm line that answers tens of thousands of calls each year. In cities, towns, shore communities, and rural pockets of our state, MHANJ is on the ground, offering help to veterans, seniors, young adults, caregivers, and anyone who needs someone to listen. At the Evening of Excellence, we spoke with leaders whose passion fuels this work.
Sometimes helping others is the best kind of therapy, which you have discovered over the years.
Well, that's the real strength of the Mental Health Association and the work that we do. We really focus on people with lived experience helping other people with lived experience. People who have had a history with psychiatric illnesses, with themselves, with their families. People who have been under addiction when they're in the process of recovering. As you said, giving back is a really important way to help your own recovery, but it also helps engage other people who have, after you've walked in somebody's shoes, you can really help each other a lot more effectively. And what the Mental Health Association did in the 30 years ago, started the process of helping peers, as we have the people, individuals in recovery themselves, start developing the skills they need to really help people. Not just share your story, but also how the systems work. Getting them more trained so they understood what was going on in the communities and start building what basically is a movement of peers to be involved in advocating for themselves, being case managers for other consumers, and being really strong people moving the system from change. Clinical services are really important, but clinical services are something that only happens a short period of your time. This isn't physical illnesses. You're not at the doctor's office every day. You're there one day a month and maybe getting a test, but you're living those other 30 days in the community. And how do you support yourself? And that's really the focus of the Mental Health Association, getting people the services and supports they need, clinical services, other services, but then how do you survive in the community? How do families survive in the community? How do we build a recovery community that is supportive?
Absolutely. How many people do you help annually in the Garden State?
Well, if you add up the people that we serve individually through so many different things that we do support groups, we do individual case management with services, with families, we do training. We do a huge amount of training of programs in the community. Mental health first aid, for example, is something we've done for the last 10 years. We do suicide prevention training. Working with all different kinds of communities to do that. And if you add that to our call center, we probably touch close to 80 to 100,000 lives each year. And that's something that we're very proud of. The people that we touch are really people who are a little bit lost. They're looking for something that we can provide.
From crisis counseling to statewide policy work, MHANJ's mission is built on one belief: everyone deserves access to mental health support.
Especially when you think about the stigmas attached to mental health and what has transpired over the last 25 years with a global pandemic and things of that nature.
And also, in broad strokes, the Mental Health Association has really had a leadership role in moving the field from a reliance on institutional care, state hospitals, to community agencies. And now, over the past 25 years, we've seen this enormous expansion of community services, right up to the last couple of years, where we're now seeing across the New Jersey's 21 counties, police mental health partnerships, where mental health staff are getting in the car with police officers and responding to crises in homes or schools or places of employment to try to prevent any sort of criminalization of the mentally ill, and to see to it that if they need hospitalization, they get there without any delays. So again, more expansion in community services. The 988 hotline has been an enormous expansion in community services. The Mental Health Association in New Jersey plays a big part in that. And as a clinician, although I retired, I still work 2 days a week as a psychotherapist. I've had clients that use 988 when they're having a tough moment, and it's been very, very successful.
Heading into 2026, what are some of the hot button initiatives of the Mental Health Association?
Well, the Mental Health Association continues to advocate for equality in terms of insurance reimbursement. We've seen some laws that are supposed to allow for equity in terms of mental health reimbursement versus physical health reimbursement. I haven't really seen that in reality, so the Mental Health Association continues to advocate for that. Peers, they continue to advocate for peers in terms of, and by peers I mean people who've had lived experience, and they bring a very valuable perspective to the mental health system. So we continue to see that, and also in substance use world, continue to see the Mental Health Association continue to advocate for enlightened policies on treatment for substance use and the decriminalization of substance use.
With a new governor taking office in 2026, these leaders are advocating for mental health to remain a statewide priority, ensuring no New Jerseyan falls through the cracks.
What are some of the programs that you favorite? I mean, I guess in respect to adolescents.
Well, firstly, the family, getting the families involved. They have so many supportive services for families. And then you have now the youth hotline, where they can call in if kids have problems or even potential suicide. This is all what the Mental Health Association provides.
25 years of excellence we're celebrating here tonight.
That's right.
What does that mean to you?
Well, you know, when you have a leadership like Carol Beauchamp and the other people who are affiliated with it, they have been in this for so long, bringing the mental illness to the forefront. And to see the work they've accomplished and the gains they've made in terms of getting people to understand that we need to fund this much better. And when they expanded the call center now, that's 24 hours. It helps so many people. That's an encouraging thing. But we still have to get more funds for that. We have the walkathon. We have all kinds of other things that help mental health, but there's still a stigma attached to it. So we're going to keep working at that.
Across New Jersey, families, students, veterans, and caregivers turn to MHANJ at some of the hardest moments of their lives. And whether it's guidance, a conversation, or a connection to resources, the impact is real, and it starts at the community level.
GoMo Health, you're a big supporter of the event here tonight. Why did you decide to lend your support?
As you know, in working with MHANJ, it's just a bunch of passionate, talented people and professionals who really give back to the community and help people in need. So we invest in that as a company, and we've been working with them for, probably about 7 years now.
Tell us how GoMo started.
Fascinating question. So how it started was I developed a science prior to getting involved in healthcare on human motivation and resiliency delivered through digital technology, how to help people in life. Did it for Wall Street traders, NASA astronauts, Marine pilots. And about 10 years ago, I saw what was happening in healthcare, and that there's not enough providers to help. And when people go back to their lived environment, it's tough to take what you learn and form new schedules, routines, and habits in your environment. For all of us.
Yeah.
We say we'll go to the gym. especially people experiencing various mental challenges. So I took the science and devoted it to vulnerable, underserved populations who are experiencing a lot of complex mental, social, and physical problems. MHANJ uses our technology to help scale the amount of engagement with people, tries to build their confidence to seek help and understand their issues. And so we really help MHANJ in scaling the amount of people they can serve. Even though we're not a nonprofit, I believe we help more people around the world than many nonprofits.
Totally.
So it's been a good ride. It's been enjoyable, and I've learned a lot from the folks in behavioral health organizations, from folks at MHANJ. They've taught us a lot, which goes back into our science, of engagement. An organization like the Mental Health Association of New Jersey, I view as top echelon in terms of how much it helps people, the efficiency, how much they do with little dollars, right? So I am just excited to support MHANJ and help them grow, and especially help them scale the number of people that MHANJ can serve, because that's critical now.
Corporate partners like GoMo Health allow MHANJ to expand programs, build innovative tools, and reach underserved populations, ensuring help is available to everyone.
This is a question I asked a couple people, but you obviously have the government background, so we have a new governor-elect. What do you hope to see over the next 4 years in terms of the mental health discussion in the Garden State?
So I think mental health should never be given the sidecar, right? You really have to look at a person in terms of their whole person care, which can get reduced to a tagline or just a reference, but it's real. So people with cancer have behavioral health needs. People with cardiac issues, with obesity, with diabetes, with any chronic illness have mental health needs, can have mental health needs, not necessarily, but you can't ignore those. And certainly so from an insurance perspective, just cost of care, just if you look at it from a dollars and cents perspective, certainly much less if you address somebody's mental health needs. From a government perspective, you want to make sure that people have access to the care that they need. So I hope that the new governor, and I'm sure she will continue this work, she says, I'm a mom, I've got kids. She sees the impact of social media far different today than it had been years ago, right? That's a brand new thing for us. The isolation, the dependency on virtual anything, as opposed to, living in a world of humans, you can get reduced to really being in an isolated community. Or that sounds like an oxymoron, an isolated environment. So I think probably her greatest asset bringing to, into this conversation is that she can draw upon her experience as a parent to see the impact on children, and youth mental health in particular is at a crisis point. So I hope that she will prioritize continued support for mental health programs, integrated into physical health programs.
There's such a stigma still around mental health, even though I feel like it's really dominated the public conversation.
Yeah.
There's still so many people, though, that are afraid to take that step.
Yep.
How do we stop that? How do we get them to do what needs to be done?
Share stories. Sharing stories is the most powerful thing I think people can do. When they say, I too suffer with depression, or I too have a family member with bipolar disorder, it normalizes it. And it can be managed either with medication or with therapy or with the interventions that are available, that can be available to folks. So I really do think sharing your story is one of the most powerful gifts that you can give to your community. And oftentimes nobody looks like they suffer from mental illness or suffer from substance use disorder. Stigma far and away, I think, is the most delimiting factor in people accessing help. When I worked for Shatterproof, it was a huge it was a huge priority for them to reduce the stigma associated with substance use disorder. Gary Mendel, who's the founder, used to talk about there would be fundraisers for kids who have cancer because you feel terrible for a child with cancer. There's no fundraiser for a kid who's suffering with a substance use disorder. And stigma can end up, really prompting people to take their own lives. So that's a crisis. So we really have to address it. And I do think talking about it, sharing stories, and normalizing it is the most helpful thing that you can do for each other.
So as a company, why is mental health advocacy so important to you?
So my company, we have a Japanese business philosophy that has come, transcribed into the United States that really adheres to, if we put the patient first, our business will prosper. And we live and breathe that every day. So these organizations, not just Mental Health America, all the sister mental health groups that are across the country, we really believe it's a core part of how we do business and how we show up in the community. We're headquartered in Princeton, and so this area, the Trenton area and the Princeton area and the New Jersey as a state is very important to us.
How does your company help break the stigma around mental health?
Well, there's a lot of things. So I'm wearing this bracelet today that we produced, show this to you, in partnership with Mental Health America. And you see it's double-sided, all right? And it says here, I'm having a good day, or today feels hard, right? And this is just like a small thing you can do to just like open yourself up to conversation. I have someone in my life that I know is struggling with mental health right now. And I am checking in on that person on a daily basis, just saying, how are you doing? And so something like this, just having conversations with people, breaking down that stigma just by having a conversation.
That requires a lot of empathy that I feel like the world doesn't have in a lot of ways, right? So, how do you teach empathy?
I think that we've come a long way as a society since COVID. I know things are difficult in this country right now. I know we're divided. I just seem to have hope that we just have to keep on trying, right? Empathy is something that is not earned, but you have to work at it, right? So we just need to keep working at it.
When sponsors step up, communities benefit. Families gain resources. Children receive support. And together, we build a stronger New Jersey.
When I was 17 years old, I experienced anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts, and I kept that hidden for probably about half of a year before I ever told my parents that I needed help. When I decided to tell my parents, it was a spur of the moment thing because I realized that if I didn't ask for help, that things could go really badly. And I walked down the stairs and my parents were sitting on the couch, they were watching TV. And the second I saw them, I just started crying. And I couldn't control it. And they were so confused because I was a really happy kid and I was always smiling and I was doing well in school, and a lot of the things that people think to look for when someone's going through a mental health challenge, they weren't present for me. And eventually I worked up the confidence to tell them I need help, and that changed everything for me. And we went on a journey together as a family to figure out where we could get resources, what even was the best path forward for me. And I went to college. After that, that was during my senior year of high school. And I wound up going to therapy. And I was actually a musical theater major when I was in undergrad. I went to James Madison University down in Virginia, and it was a great experience. But once I graduated, I realized that I wasn't happy doing that anymore. And I needed a different career that was going to make me feel happy and feel fulfilled. So again, I was kind of trying to find my own path and figure out, where do I fit in? What is my purpose? And during my time in college, I found that because of my experiences going through mental health challenges, I was able to support people in a whole different way. I could connect with them and understand and empathize with their situation. And there's a couple of things that really stick out to me, but one of them is I had a friend my freshman year of college who was going through suicidal ideation as well, and I was the support person for her. I took her to the counseling center for crisis counseling. I was able to be there for her as a support, and that was really important to me to kind of learn how to use that skill set and use it for good. So I decided that I wanted to be a therapist and I wanted to go back to school, and as you know, that costs a lot of money, and I wasn't sure how that was going to work out for me. My mom suggested competing in Miss America because Miss America is a scholarship program, and I didn't know how much I would like it, honestly, but I competed in my first local pageant and I won, and I was off to Miss New Jersey, and in the years since, I've been able to use that mental health story for good and to connect with people across the state. I've been volunteering with the Mental Health Association for the last 4 years, and I'm on the program advisory board as well, kind of helping to learn and to guide some of the programs that are happening in our state at the Mental Health Association, and those experiences were so important to me. and helped me eventually get into grad school. So right now I'm a third-year student at Widener University on the path to get my doctorate and become a psychologist. So this whole story of starting out as a 17-year-old who was scared and didn't even really understand what mental health was to now, you know, a 26-year-old who understands and can help other people. I just think that's so wonderful that the Mental Health Association has played a part in that, as well as Miss America.
You obviously have an amazing platform. How do you use it to break the stigma of the mental health discussion? Because while it dominates public discourse, there's still a lot of embarrassment attached. People don't want to get the help. They think, oh, therapy, it's so scary. I was one of those people, and then once I had therapy now 11 years ago, and it was life-changing.
Yes.
So how do you help people have that aha moment?
Well, I think I have a very similar experience where I went 3 years dealing with my mental health challenges before I went to therapy. And just being honest about that, there's a lot of people that are scared, but what we know is that recovery is not just possible, it's probable. And I know that not just because it's some statistic, but because I lived it. And telling people my story and what I went through, but also uplifting the voices of other people that have gone through different things. I have a podcast called the Shout Our Struggle Podcast. That's the name of my initiative. And I've been able to bring in people from all different walks of life to talk about their experiences. A mother who went through postpartum depression, a young man who in college went through really tough times with anxiety and went to the counseling center even though he was scared. And the more we just talk about and share those stories and show people that they're not alone, a lot of that stigma goes away. But then there's a lot of misinformation too. And I think in my role as a future psychologist, I also have that knowledge too to come in with what the facts actually are and to guide people to find their way through and to find acceptance for people that may be different from them, or find acceptance of the fact that help really can make a difference.
When young leaders like Isabelle speak openly, it changes the culture. It opens doors, and it inspires courage in others who are struggling. This is the ripple effect of MHANJ's community giveback. One story helping another. Mental health isn't just an issue we talk about in headlines. It's something affecting families in every corner of our state. The Mental Health Association of New Jersey shows us what happens when a community lifts each other up. People heal, families stabilize, and hope becomes possible again. Thank you for watching this special episode of Your New Jersey. I'm Marie Falbo. We'll see you back here next week.